Hey everybody, it's Kyle once again with another episode of Unlocking Your Inner Strength. This is episode number 103, which means next episode will be 2 years straight without missing a single episode. Today I'm going to be getting into some energy and time mastery concepts. And it's funny how things happen. I was thinking of the topic for this week, and I know I did that as one of the very first episodes, but I thought I should revisit it because it's a question I get quite often asked of me, is how I manage my energy and my time. For example, we had a meeting last week, and one of the guys wanted to know how I seemingly seem to get a lot of stuff done, which I don't view myself that way, but I said, okay, there's something here that other people should be exposed to. And then one of the coaches at Newell asked me, or mentioned that he was looking back, way back for that podcast episode so he could kind of put some of these practices into play. Now, before I get into that, I want to go over a mindset piece as I usually like to do. The quality of your mindset will determine the quality of your behavior. So mindset determines behavior. If you have a mindset that is based in willpower and you're trying to force something and it's external motivation, your behavior is going to be too extreme, too erratic, and you're not going to be able to stick with anything to actually make a transformation. A transformation is when you have a permanent change. A change by itself is just temporary. A change is easy. So you got to remember those two things. The quality of your mindset will determine the quality of your behavior. So work first on the mind. Make sure you get meditation and make sure you have clarity on your purpose. Make sure you're constantly practicing awareness and being mindful and being present in the moment. The only way that you can express your full self and have the ultimate mindset is if you're present in the moment. When you're thinking out into the future, anxiety comes up and thinking and thought patterns become clouded and you're not going to make the best choices. So getting into some time mastery. Now, what time mastery really is, it's managing your energy. Where are you going to allocate your energy to? Now, Stephen King, I'm a big fan of. I love horror movies. I love all that type of stuff. When he was actually working in the public school system up in Massachusetts, he wrote his first book, Carrie. He did that while he was working. I believe he was a teacher up there. And during his breaks and on the way to work, when he would ride the bus, he would write part of the book. Carrie went on to become a bestseller and a major motion film. So how did this guy do that with such limited time? So again, he had a full-time job. And there's so many people that will come to me and say, hey, I'm not fulfilled with my career, but I don't have time to work on something else. You do have time. You got to find those pockets. So Stephen King was able to write his number one bestseller first novel while he was working full-time in the public school system up in Massachusetts. Some of the ways he was able to do that, and stuff that I've taken from him and a guy named Dan Kennedy. I'll give you a resource at the end of this, but I've been able to take some of the stuff and apply it to my own life, so here you go. You need to know the value of your time. Let's make this real simple. Let's say you figure out how many hours you have available in your working year and how much money you want to make. You need to determine what each of those hours has to be worth for you to get to your income goal. So let's say that works out to be $100 an hour. Anything that you can get done for less than that $100 per hour, you should outsource. It's not worth your time. And with time, it's very important that you're mindful of how you speak about your time. Most people will say things like, I'm killing time, or I'm wasting time, or I just got time to burn. Time is your most valuable resource in your life. Without time, you're dead. So start thinking of time in terms of how are you going to invest your time? What are you going to put it into? how are you going to nurture your time and value your time? You have to think in these terms, but you have to know how much literal dollars your time is worth. And then you can make decisions more appropriately. When Devin and I moved into our first townhouse, and I was still teaching full time, and I had the business, and it was pretty much just me, I would outsource a lot of the little stuff around the house, like removing carpets. And she said, I don't understand. Why don't we do this ourselves? To me, with the little free time I had at that point in my life, I was not going to spend it on something that I could get somebody else to do for $15 an hour, like painting or ripping up carpet. I knew the value of my time. So that's very important to know. This is probably the biggest thing as far as managing your energy. You have to work to the clock. So when I work, I have a focus timer on my phone, an app. I usually set it for 20-minute blocks with 5-minute breaks. And that thing is sitting there. It'll go, go, go. Whatever I'm doing when it goes off, I stop for 5 minutes, get up, walk around. I just change my mind to something else. Then I get back to work. It beeps after the 5 minutes. I get back to it. After every 4 rounds, I have a longer break, and usually that's when I eat lunch. But you have to work to the clock. Nothing will create focus like intense time pressure. Nothing will create focus like intense time pressure. That's very important to remember. The deadline is the greatest invention in the world. Nothing ever has gotten done without a deadline, whether that's mini deadlines or longer term deadlines. You need to have a deadline. So you have to work to the clock. I'm a big believer in that. 3 types of days. So again, how are you going to manage your energy? You have high focus days. Now, most people don't know what a high focus day is because they just go to work, go through the motions. A high focus day is when you're really trying to create and put out your best work. You can't do those every day. It's impossible. The maximum I figured that anybody can actually work when I was doing the 33-minute blocks was I got 8 of them in a few times, and I was wiped. And those were high focus days, but it's a little more than 4 hours worth of work. That's the max somebody's going to get in. Your high focus days are the days where you're creating and you're making your legacy. Then you have the buffer days. You need those to run errands and do your black and white work, not your full color work. That might be checking emails and stuff like that. And I'll go over emails and phone in a second. Make note of that. And then you have your free days. Your free days are very undervalued in that you need to give your brain a break and your focus a break onto something else. Unplug, have fun, have a free day. It's just like training in a gym. If you try to train 7 days a week all out, you're not going to recover. Your body's not going to have that, be able to adapt to that resistance phase. So very important that you have your free days. So you have free days, buffer days, and high focus days, and that's taken from a program called Strategic Coach. Now, getting back to emails, if you've ever emailed me, you know you get an autoresponder back that I usually check email once a week, and I'm out there trying to impact the universe, so I'll check it when I check it. Email and phone calls typically are the biggest time wasters there are. I shouldn't say phone calls. I should say interruptions on your phone, checking every text message, checking every email that comes in, checking every social media update that you get on your phone. Big time suck. The cell phone is peak productivity enemy number 1. So another thing when you set that timer on your phone, if you're going to take me up on that, is put it on airplane mode. Don't be interrupted by other people's urgencies, okay? That'll tie in nicely to Stephen Covey's quadrants. There's 4 quadrants. You have things that are urgent and things that are not urgent and things that are important and things that are not important. Quadrant 2 is where we want to spend, and I suggest you look this up, Stephen Covey's quadrants. Quadrant 2 is where you want to spend the bulk of your time, 90% of your time. Those things are important, but they're not urgent, so they're very easy to put off. Most people will put things that are urgent and not important, like phone calls and little mini fires. They'll spend most of their time there, and then they get frustrated because they're not actually moving the chains in their life. So you want to spend your time in quadrant 2, primarily, 90% of it. Things that are not urgent, but they're important. That's relationships, that's planning, that's preparation, that's taking care of yourself. Those are your fun days. All these types of things, learning, growing. That's where you need to focus your time. Now, your work will expand to the time that you allow it. That's another reason you should, and I don't like using should too much, but you work to the clock. If you give something an hour, it's going to take an hour. If you give it 20 minutes, you'll get it done in 20 minutes. And realize that the work is never going to end. You have to realize, okay, today's over, whatever cutoff you have. And if you know that there's a cutoff, you're going to be more proficient with your time. And you'll pick it up the next time you have a high focus day. Chaos planning. So I did a whole separate thing on this. But chaos planning basically states that whatever time you think you have, so if you think you have 8 hours a day, like when I stopped teaching, when I resigned from teaching, I thought I was going to have 8 hours a day every day to get work done and work on the business. And I was really pumped. I quickly found out, and this was before we even had Matina, our first dog, no kids were in the picture, that I would maybe have 4 hours a day. And I said, what is happening to my time? But something would come up, and invariably it would throw me off track. So whatever time you think you have about half of that. And if you plan for that and plan for the chaos, you're not going to be thrown off course. So if you think you have 2 hours, you got an hour. Now, in a work week, if you think you have 5 days, you got 4. In a month, you don't have 4 weeks, you got 3 weeks to get done what you have to get done. And start thinking in these terms. You have to be more efficient and proficient with what you're trying to do. So that's chaos planning. Now, resistance. Stephen Covey has a few great books. One of them is The War of Art. And anytime you sit down to do your life's work and create higher level stuff, resistance is going to show up. Resistance is chores that have to be done, emails that ping your inbox, catastrophes in other people's worlds that they need you to help them with. Resistance is always going to show up anytime you want to move to a higher level in life. Anytime you're trying to move backwards a level, like if I said, you know what, I'm going to stop trying to help people and I'm just going to go work at Walmart, there's going to be zero resistance to making that downward move. Now, when I want to open location number 2 and we want to open location number 3, there's going to be a lot of resistance, a lot of roadblocks. As you've seen, if you've been following along, trying to get location number 2 off the ground, but that's to be expected. So here's 11 times that resistance is most likely to strike, and you need to be mindful of these because this is going to strike when you're doing your high focus work. It's going to strike in any pursuit, in any calling of writing, painting, music, film, dance, or creative endeavor. The launching of any entrepreneurial venture or enterprise for profit or otherwise. So I just told you with location number 2, there's been a lot of resistance. But I expected that, and it's going to happen. You just got to keep an optimistic mindset. Any diet or health regimen. Think about how many people are starting their diets on Mondays. There's never going to be a great time for this to start stuff. So resistance will show up anytime you're trying to undertake a new diet or health regimen. Any program of spiritual advancement. So how many times have you said you want to start doing meditation and you don't start it because something else is going to be more important than that? Always that happens. Any activity whose aim is tighter abdominals. So that kind of goes with the diet or health one. There's always going to be resistance anytime you start that. The timing is never going to be right. All the lights are never going to be green. Any course or program designed to overcome an unwholesome habit or addiction. There's always going to be a reason that you can't quite give up the booze or whatever it is, or the cigarettes or the addiction to whatever. Timing's never going to be right. And education of every kind. Education is what's going to separate you from the pack, educating yourself. But there's always resistance. There's always something more important to do than sitting down to read that book or read a few sentences. Any act of political, moral, ethical, or courage, including decision to change for the better, some unworthy pattern, thought, or conduct in ourselves. So political stuff, moral, ethical, courage, and decision to change for the better, you're always going to face resistance. The undertaking of any enterprise whose aim it is to help others, always going to face resistance. Any act that entails commitment of the heart, decision to get married, have a child, weather a rocky patch in a relationship, there's going to be a lot of resistance. And last one, the taking of any principled stand in the face of adversity. You're going to have resistance. You're going to have people telling you can't do it. You're going to have unforeseen circumstances. But success in time mastery and energy mastery is just through that other side of the door. You got to be willing to step through that door and face resistance head on. and put your blinders on and set the timer and really lock down and drill down and whatever you got to do to get into the proper mindset. It's all about the state of your mindset to do your life's work when you have to do it. So those are some of the things that are mindful in my mind of when I'm trying to master my time and be very proficient with my energy. And as the family grows and businesses grow, my time becomes less and less. And I know, okay, this is my unique ability. This, writing is a big thing for me. I have to make time to write a couple times a week. So start thinking of those terms. If you think like everybody else, you're never going to master your time. You got to think, or I should say, observe what everybody else is doing, and then go the opposite way. So that's all I have for episode number 103 about time mastery. And if you have not already done so, please leave a review on iTunes. That'll help me out a lot. And you can also share these episodes through iTunes with a friend. That would help me out a lot. And if you're interested in some higher level coaching, you can go to kylenewell.com/coaching. There's an application there. And that's coaching of any level, mind map, online fitness, whatever it is that you think I could help you with. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. Peace, Facebook.